December 7, 1941, a day that changed the course of history forever. It was on this date that the United States officially entered World War II, after a surprise attack by the Empire of Japan on Pearl Harbor. We open this video by honoring the lives lost and the brave men and women who served and continued to serve in defense of our freedom. It's easy to take peace for granted, but for those who fought and died in World War II, we salute you. Your sacrifice echoes through generations, reminding us of the cost of conflict and the value of liberty.
The Mitsubishi Zero was the key Japanese Naval Air Force fighter of World War II. It was what protected the Japanese dive bombers, the Japanese torpedo bombers.
The Japanese aerial assault on Pearl Harbor involved over 350 aircraft, and leading the charge was one of the most feared machines in the sky, the Mitsubishi A6M Zero. Allied soldiers watching from the ground, the skies were filled with sleek, nimble enemy fighters executing impossible maneuvers. The Zero wasn't just fast, it was surgical, capable of turning tight loops and dogfighting with an elegance the world hadn't seen.
1941 have what is, without a doubt, the world's finest fighter airplane, in the form of the A6 Mitsubishi Zero.
The Zero's design was revolutionary for its time. Japanese engineers aimed to create the most agile fighter in the Pacific. Their goal, maximum maneuverability, long range, and lethal firepower, even if it meant sacrificing protection. A 6M Zero was powered by the Nakajima Sake 12 radial engine, a twin-row 14-cylinder air-cooled engine, producing around 940 horsepower. Despite its relatively low power by today's standards, its lightweight airframe made the Zero astonishingly fast and nimble. The aircraft was armed with two 7.7mm machine guns and two 20mm Type 99 cannons mounted in the wings, capable of tearing through enemy planes in mere seconds.
Duralumin was seen as a new type of metal. It was an aluminium alloy, effectively, a lighter version of aluminium than other manufacturers were using. Other manufacturers didn't see it as being strong enough to put into aircraft. Mitsubishi were almost a decade ahead of the Americans in its use there.
To achieve that agility, the Zero was built with minimal armor. The aluminum skin was so thin you could not stand on the wings without damaging them. Pilots had no bulletproof glass, no armor plating, and the fuel tanks were not self-sealing, meaning a single lucky shot could ignite the aircraft. In fact, there were rumors that early designers didn't even want to include a radio in the cockpit, just to shave off extra weight. Every ounce counted.
In fact, all the way through to the end of the war, basically no other aircraft can turn with a Japanese Zero.
At the start of the war, the United States' primary fighter in the Pacific was the Curtiss P-40 Warhawk, a decent aircraft, but nowhere near as nimble as the Zero. American pilots quickly learned that trying to outturn a Zero in a dogfight was a death sentence. The Zero's agility meant that even skilled U.S. pilots would often find themselves under a hail of 20mm fire within seconds.
Performance in the air, maneuverability, and then the ability to lay down some pain through the use of machine guns, cannons.
Everything changed when the U.S. recovered an intact A6M Zero in 1942, a moment known as the Akutan Zero incident. Engineers and pilots studied its strengths and, more importantly, its weaknesses. The Zero had no armor, no fuel tank protection, limited roll rate at high speeds. Armed with that knowledge, the U.S. began designing aircraft to exploit these flaws. Enter the F6F Hellcat, the F4U Corsair, and eventually the iconic P-51 Mustang, all built with more firepower, protection, and the speed to counter Japan's once dominant fighter. Despite all the new superior aircraft that came out to defeat the Zero, Japan's Zero designers refused to change but stayed on the thought that the purity of Zero's design should not be altered, which led to their downfall.
And then conducted significant test and evaluation flights with it.
And they're able to fully test and see what the enemy has. On the one hand, they understand now its aerodynamic capacity, why it can fly so well, but they also see its weakness. The Zero is a brilliant boxer with a great right hook, but a glass jaw. It has a punch, it's fast, it floats. It's Muhammad Ali in terms of its offensive capacity, but it's a terrible fighter as a defender. Because to be as fast and long-ranged as it is, it had to have almost no armor protection.
Following the Pearl Harbor attack, Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, who had helped plan it, is famously believed to have said, "I fear all we have done is to awaken a sleeping giant and fill him with a terrible resolve." He knew Japan had poked a bear with vast industrial strength, and that once mobilized, America would outbuild and outgun them. He was right.
そういうものか日本軍は生きて領収の恥ずかしみを受けるという 絶対に捕虜にならないという考えでしたから、そういう強制されたもんじゃなかったんですけども、攻めていく場合には落下傘持ってきませんでしたね。落下傘はもちろん座布団、ね、クッション代わりに持っていきますけども、バンドをもう置いていっちゃうんです。だから落下傘持っていかないと同じで、敵視上でやられたらもう自爆する以外ないと。今考えればもったいないことで、それで随分死んでるんですけどもね。
Only a handful of original Zeros remain today, less than 10 worldwide, and even fewer still fly. But when one roars to life at an air show, it's not just a sound. It's a haunting echo of history. As tensions rise around the globe, world prays, we never face another war of that scale. We can only hope that the lessons of the past have not been forgotten, that we've come to understand war is brutal, devastating, and too often avoidable. If you found this story enlightening, consider subscribing. We'll be covering other iconic World War II fighters in upcoming episodes, including the P-40 Warhawk, the F6 Hellcat, and the legendary P-51 Mustang. Thanks for watching, and may we never forget the past that shaped our present. Take care of yourselves, and see you in our next video.